Alright, so hopefully you guys have already downloaded the Unity package, either from Storg or from the link below if you watch on YouTube. For starters, if you actually want to import that Unity package, I would recommend, because this is going to be a kind of long tutorial if you don't jump ahead. You can go to Assets, then there's Import Package there, and you can click on Custom Package, and then you can go find it. Or I think the easier way is in your folder system, you can just click and drag it into Unity, and then magic happens. Be sure to import everything, and then we'll be good to go. So what I've got right here is the final version that we're going to be working towards. So if I go ahead and hit play, I don't actually know if sound is on, but basically this is just a generic FPS I made, I want to say like a year and a half ago. You can go ahead and shoot different monsters that are coming at you. I think the whole point of the tutorial was to do terrain. That's why there's really cool grass shapes. And then physics, I can shoot a barrel. Boom, barrel physics. It's really fantastic.
Like how the monsters have no physics.
Yes, they have none. Yeah, it's pretty intense. I did add a bit more things from the first version of this. So like reloading and then like a counter for how many you've killed. And you can see those being used on the GUI there. And so if I go ahead and run into these guys, I start losing health. I think if you lose all of your health, you die, but then you just restart the game. So that's that. I've also added a main menu. It's pretty intense. I made it pink because pink is a cool color. It's a super cool game. That's the title of the game. Then you can play the game, or you can do the most important part of every game, which is credits. It's me. It's me. No, you can't quit. You don't need to quit this game. You can never leave. There's no need at all. And then go back to the menu. But don't forget, credits are a thing. So there's the credit screen. But we got to go back to start the game. But there's credits, so we got to look at that. Okay. Then we can play the game, and then we get right to where I didn't add it to the scene. Awkward. We'll get there. But look at that jump cut that totally exists. Look, we're playing. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah. So. Yes. That's what it means. So to begin with, just to take a look at the script. So I'm going to go ahead and clear these out because these are not really needed anymore. There's the gun sound. It's really loud, so I apologize. Yeah. Spoilers, I guess, for what you guys will be doing. Okay. So this script, this player script, it's really pretty much has all the logic of everything. And it's got some variables down here that are health, ammo, and enemies killed. And these are all updated, accordingly. What?
Zoom in on the code a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
Very hard to aim without turning.
Yeah. So like, yeah, the health, like it changes whenever you collide with an enemy. I think that's here. Yeah. You actually can only kill an enemy when you actually shoot it. If you collide with an enemy, it doesn't count as killing. You're just bad. And then ammo is just right here, and we make sure that we have ammo to shoot with, and we can reload by pushing the R key, because why not? I think it's pretty standard nowadays. And that's that. Feel free to look at this more kind of on your own. I did comment everything because this was a tutorial. In fact, this tutorial is located on the ISU It's like into 4 parts. It's pretty bad, but feel free to look at it whenever. This code does make me cringe, so just let that be known. This is old code, and I've learned a lot since then. So just remember that. Yes. But the important thing is we have the health variables, the ammo variables, and the enemies killed variables. And so we can actually use those variables to actually update our HUD, basically, what we see as we're playing the game. So to begin with, I'm going to delete these two. This is what you guys should see right now. It's just an empty screen. I mean, you've got the gun still. The thing about this, though, is you can't really tell where you're aiming. You don't know how many bullets you have left. You don't know what your health is. It's kind of, you can kind of see why UI is important in this case. So that's why we're going to add one today. Starting in Unity like 4.6, which might be older than all of you people, because you're all youngins. There's there's been a new way of doing it called the Unity Canvas system, and you can do that by right-clicking inside of your hierarchy, and then choose whatever you want. So let's just start with something like an image, and this will be our health bar. So if you click image, it'll actually generate a canvas for you, and then it'll generate an event system. And now what a canvas is, if we switch to scene view, it's this giant thing that's bigger than our entire game. This just giant rectangle that basically is just our HUD. And so with this HUD, this will be overlaid on the camera. So no matter where our cameras goes, it always will stay there. And we can see that on the right here in the inspector, there's render mode. Right now it's set to screen space overlay. That's the default, and for most cases, that is what you want. If you do something like screen space camera, you actually choose a specific camera to actually render over. So if you have maybe multiple cameras in your scene and you only want to render over one of them, this would be what you would do. With screen space overlay, it automatically chooses the camera that has the main camera tag. So I don't know, you're calling that. With screen space camera though, what you can do is you can actually set the plane distance. So right now this is actually 100 units away from your camera, from your player, and I can actually move this as much as I want. The downside of this is you can actually see the UI gets caught kind of behind things, so it's not really the best, but there are some uses for it. And then finally there's world space, which is it just sticks there in the world, and no matter where you're looking, it'll always stay there, so you can kind of like walk through your UI, your HUD. There's uses for all of these. But for now, we're just going to stick with screen space overlay because that's the easiest. That's that. One other thing to note for this canvas scaler, right now I actually have my aspect ratio in my game tab to be 4:3, and I would recommend you all do that as well. Usually you kind of want to pick some ratio to kind of work with, and this really does depend, like if you're doing it to like iPhone, Android, web, everything usually has a pretty standard size. And so with this canvas scaler, it'll kind of do its best job to scale things accordingly. However, if you do actually have something, this is what we want, the exact resolution, I guess, of your game. So for example, like WebGL games, usually those are pretty much fixed resolution, 800 by 600 or whatever the place you're hosting it usually has a set guideline. You can just set that to be exactly the X and Y coordinates that you need it to be, and then you don't have to worry about your canvas changing size or scaling, because if I were to set this at like free aspect and I'm lining up things like against the top right corner of the screen, but then I change it to like actually 16 by 19, you might see that thing get cut off. And so if your UI gets cut off, I mean, you might as well just not have one because the information just isn't really there or helpful. But we'll keep this as that because we're not really going to be publishing this game, but just let that be known. That's the thing you might have to worry about. I would recommend building your game from time to time to actually see how your UI looks, because what you see in the Unity scene might be different than what you actually see in the Unity, player, standalone, whatever, depending on the aspect ratio that you choose for your game. So, like I said, I'm going to be on 4:3 today, and I think that's pretty much everything is set to right now. Everything else, I'm going to say should, in air quotes, should scale accordingly, but don't take my word for that. So, that's that. We have added an image, and because this is in the direct center of our screen, and what you can do is you can actually set it to 2D mode for this, so you can actually see your UI a bit better, because UI is usually in 2D screen space, so we can play with this a little bit better. Because this is inside of our, just in the center, usually the thing in the center of our screen should be the crosshair. So with an image, it's just a component, and there's a source image, and I can go ahead, and I should have added a couple of sprites with the Unity package. There's one that's just called Crosshair, and I can go ahead and just click it and select like that. Now from here, I can look at it in the game and say, that looks pretty good, but maybe it's a bit, maybe it's just a bit too small maybe. So I can go ahead, up here at the top left, I'm going to choose this one that has like a It's square with 4 dots in the end and a circle in the middle. That's actually how you can resize sprites really easily without having to worry about, the width and height in the transform. So I can just click and drag and be like, yeah, whoops, knocked over that. What you can do here is just resize it. I can hold shift to, keep it uniform. And then I'll drag it back to the center and I'd say, okay, perfect. Now they really know where they're shooting. So, perfect. Yeah, you can resize it to be whatever. Remember, UI is usually not done correctly the first try, so feel free to actually play test it and get people's feedback on it. So I'll make it that size. You might think it's a bit too big, a bit too small. It's your game. You can do whatever you want with it. So I'm not going to stop you, but for now, we'll just leave it as that. Next up, let's actually add, I know I said, well, let's add the health bar before, but let's actually add the health bar now. Psych. So we'll add another image, and one thing I should be doing is renaming these things so we actually know what they are. So I'm going to rename this object to be Crosshair image because it helps for organization. I'm being a good person. So if you right-click on canvas now and add another image, it should add it right to the same canvas. If you just do UI image, I think it might, no, it does, okay. It automatically goes to the canvas, but if you have more than one canvas, which we will do today, it won't know which one to go to. So I always get in the habit of just right-clicking the canvas and then do UI where I want it to be. So I'm going to say this is going to be our health bar image, I guess. And I didn't spell it right, but that's good enough. And I don't have a health bar image for this, but we can just use any one of these weird rounded squares. I like this one, input field background. It's the best health bar sprite ever. And it's just a square. And I'm going to go ahead and just drag it up to the top right and make it a bit more rectangular-y. And it just kind of sits right there. And maybe I want it to, not be exactly in the corner, but I can drag it down a little bit and offset it just a little bit as well. And then every image has a color. Because this is white, we can actually change the color pretty easily. If you have a color black, it doesn't change color easily. So if you're going to have something change due to color in Unity, make sure it's white. But let's make this, pure red. It looks pretty okay in my mind. It's not bright at all. That's that. I'm actually going to change image type to be filled down here. And this does change it to be, a bit more rounded. But the reason why I'm doing this is because this fill amount is a slider, and we can actually fill based on how much health we have. This does a radial kind of fill, which I think is cool. Maybe not for a health bar. So for fill method, I'm just going to change it to horizontal. And right now, it starts from left to right, which is what we would think a health bar is. So now as I'm sliding it, you can actually see that, as our health is going down, the bar is going down. So that's what we want. Feel free to do whatever fill method you want. It won't change a thing. It's just how it looks. Pretty much everything will be implemented the same way. So it's just personal preference on your design. If I right-click help bar image and add a text image, what I can do is actually resize this to be over the health bar. And now it's kind of child to it. So as I'm moving, this health bar, the text comes with it. So when the canvas is resizing, we know the text is always going to be there, so that's good as well. And I'm going to center this as well. And I'm just going to say health. It's really not that intense of a text. Makes sense. You might have not need the word health, but we're going to put it there because I want to show off UI text. And you can change the color. I prefer white, and I'm going to click best fit, so it just kind of fits to the best it can. That's what best fit means. Spoiler. I don't know. One thing you can do with UI as well is there's this really cool component that is overlooked a lot, I think. It's literally just called outline. And what it does is it adds an outline. And outlines are cool because you can read pretty much anything you want, no matter the background, as long as you have like white text with a black outline. That's why memes do it. It's not a fact, but I'm pretty sure that's why memes do it. So, outline. It's a cool thing. And you can change the outline. Like if you want to do black on like black text with white outline, I'm sure that would work as well. But that's all we have there. And we don't have to do anything more than that. You can change fonts, but I don't have any fonts for you. You can download fonts and just drag them into Unity. Unity knows how to handle them, and then just choose whatever you want. So that is that. One thing to point out, there's these weird kind of like triangles right here that I can move around, and then you see these percentages start to come around. This is what's called an anchor point, and right now everything is defaulted to the center. So when your screen actually resizes, everything is kind of anchored to that center point. Because we've anchored this, or because we put this at the top left of our screen, we kind of want it to actually stay at the top left of our screen. If our screen got wider for some reason, or maybe taller for some reason, we'd want to make sure that it stays as close to the corner as it currently is. And so I'm actually just going to move all of those anchor points to the top left. What you can do is you can actually do these one by one. So I guess if you wanted to anchor it to just the canvas, I don't know what would happen then, but I'm sure something would happen. But I know for a fact this works just fine. So we're going to do that. So as I'm moving, that was weird. I broke everything. Ooh, I broke everything. What did I do? What did I do? I made it really small. I didn't mean to.
Maybe it's really big. You just can't see it.
No, it's really small. Well, either way, this will still work. But, yeah. I don't know why I can't undo. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. Don't try this at home, kids. We're going to make a new canvas.
Wait,
Don't try this at home, kids. Just pretend nothing happened.
you are the editor for this.
Nothing ever happened.
Well, what's the same thing?
Nothing happened.
Same problem happened to us.
Nothing happened. Then you just restart the canvas. Make a new canvas. Look at that. Exactly. Everything is exactly as the way it was. Perfect. And now, if I were to hypothetically resize this canvas, which I would never do, the health bar should come along for the ride with that. Take my word for it. It totally works. Trust me. Shh. Okay. And then finally, well, not finally, the monster killed was just another text, and that's pretty simple to do. It's just UI, text, and I just said monsters killed, and then I start to 0 just to kind of initialize it. That way we don't have to take care of that part in code. And then I do white on black again, or outline, and that's that. And I can go ahead and move it to the top right. I could resize it to be whatever I want. Unity does like snap it to be lined up with the other UI elements. So like there's kind of that orange bar at the top of the health bar to say that I'm actually in line with the other health bar. So you can kind of do whatever you want with that, I guess. It's cool. Center as well, just why not? And it's that. And then I'm going to call this monster killed text, just so we know what it is for future reference. I should have called this health text, but I know for a fact we won't be referencing this in code, so it's your call. Organization's a good thing. And then again, we should probably anchor the monster killed stuff to the top right now that we've put that up there. Finally, we've got the kind of bullets left, and that's just the reload image, or for reloading. This is a two-parter again, so this one's an image, and the sprite for this is just going to be the bullet sprite. It's right there. And I put this at the very bottom left, and then we'll anchor it to the bottom left as well. And then bullet image. And then I also make the text for this a child as well, just so it always sticks together. And I'll make it the same size. And I'll kind of move it in a bit closer to like that. And we start at 16, so I'll just initialize that as well. Best fit, white, black outline. It's the way to do it. Conform to my standards.
16 bullets to a revolver.
Yes. I was gonna do 6. But I was like, yeah, I don't. That's too little. To be fair, our reload time is instant, so it really doesn't matter. But I mean, you can change whatever you want to be. This is your game now. That's that. So now we've got our UI, pretty much everything it needs to be. Look, we've got our crosshair, we've got our bullets main, we've got our health bar, monsters killed. Look, I can actually aim once I start spawning. Look, I can aim. If I can get this mouse to work, I can aim and shoot. I know everything's shooting. Look, everything's working perfectly. Our UI is done, right? Perfect. Look, I'm invincible. I'm never gonna die. I'm never gonna die. Look, my health bar is not going down. Never gonna die. I'm never gonna die. But so are they, because I can't really get credit for killing them. So you see the issue here. We can't just make a UI and then expect it to magically update itself. We actually have to do, dare I say, code to make this work. I know. Yeah, it's not like you're all coders or developers or whatever. No big deal. Well, you are today. You are today. This one's relatively painless, just going to say. So open up the player script. This is where I have all the variables. So I'm not going to say it's good design to just have everything in this class. You might want to have a UI class that just takes in the variables and updates accordingly. But for now, screw good practice. We're just going to do it in here. First things first, should remove this. In order to actually use UI elements inside of scripting, you actually have to say using unityengine.ui. And that gets you access to variables like images, text, canvases, etc. So make sure that you're using unityengine.ui or else this will not work. And then I'm going to add 3 variables. These are just the things that are going to be changed within the actual game. So the health bar fill percentage will be changed. The monster killed number will be changed. And the bullets remaining number will be changed. That's only 3 things. And I didn't rename this. Bullets, left, text. And you'll see why I'm doing this in a second, so we can actually see things better. So for starters, the first thing you want to change is the image of our health bar. Image. I didn't write an A, that's why I'm saying that. And so we'll just say there's a public image, and we're going to call this one health bar image, just like that. And I'm making these public so we can set them in the inspector, because it's the easiest way that, and I'm just following what I did a year ago, make this public and that public. So public, the next thing we're going to do is also text, or just text. This will be for the monsters killed. So monsters killed, text. And then finally the text, the last text will be the bullets, left, text. Zoom in or out? Sorry. There you go. Yep, so we've added these 3 lines of code, and we'll definitely remember to fill them out in the inspector once we're done here, because I know I'm going to forget, so I'm just going to say that, so hopefully someone catches me. Just an image, text, and text. It's really not that complicated. You obviously can add more, but right now we only need to actually update these 3 things, so we'll just start with here. So now we actually have to figure out where these things are changing and where these things actually need to be updated. So let's just scroll down, and here's one. So ammo minus, so we should probably say, hey, you have 1 less ammo, so let's update it here. One thing you could do is you can just put this in update, like just pure update, so like it's updated in every frame. But that does get a bit kind of, pointless, because if you're not shooting, or you're not taking damage, or you're not killing monsters, like that value isn't going to change from frame to frame. So it just kind of, this is a bit better efficiency-wise to actually only update it when the values of the code itself get updated. So when we actually remove ammo, I'm going to go ahead and just say bullet left text, and then we have to say dot text to actually get the text field inside of this text component. It's fun. It's really fun. And I'm going to say that equals empty strings, just to make sure it knows it's a string, and then plus ammo is what I called it. And this will work just fine, just as is. It's really not that complicated. UI is so easy. Haha. Okay. And then scrolling down, there's another enemies killed. And this one, I think I said Monsters killed. Yeah, thank you. Monsters killed dot text. This one, because we have the monsters killed :space 0, we do need to start this off with, monsters killed :space, and then plus enemies killed, and that'll work just fine. And that's the reason why I did type this out to be monsters killed :0 at the start, is so that at the start of our game, this is what it will begin as, and the second we get another monster, it will go and execute this code. You could, in your start method, do like monsters, you could just do the same line of code again. But that's duplicate code, and no one likes that for some reason. So we're not going to do that. Efficiency. And then here's where we reload. And so I'll just do bullets left.text again. You could just hard code this to be 16, but if you did, like, maybe your ammo magically jumps down to 6 because it's a revolver, you don't have to change it in 2 places. So I just do plus ammo again, the exact same line as before. And then down here is where we actually lose the health. So this is where we actually now have the health bar image. And then instead of doing .text, what we've been doing before, there's actually fill amount. And this is a float from 0 to 1. And so in order to get what our percentage should be, all we actually have to do is health divided by 100 float. And this will convert it to a value between 0 and 1. And I'm doing this because our health does start at 100. If for some reason your health, started at 200, we'd have to change this. So, oh well. Also, it should be worth mentioning, if you do have a fill amount that's above 1, it'll just go to 1. And if it's below 0, it'll just go to 0. So, like, for example, like, I think there will be like one frame where we will have -5 health at the very end before it actually kicks us out and restarts the game. For that one frame, it's not going to break our UI. It'll just be set to 0. It's not like we'll have a reverse health bar or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. Unless you want a reverse health bar, that's your call. I think that's pretty much it. Like, we only had to update the bullets when we shoot and reload. We only have to update the health when we take damage, and we only have to update the monster killed when we kill them. Because there's no way to get like health in this game, or else we would have to add it there as well. And that's that. So hopefully, if we go ahead and hit play, but we're not because we haven't added the components yet. I remembered. On the player object, there is a player script here, and you can see other stuff that goes into making this game. The health bar image, if I click on the circle, look at that. Since I named all of these, I know exactly what they are. Look at that. Health bar image. Crazy. Monsters killed text. Whoa. Monster killed text it is. And then bullets left text is bullets left text. Whoa. I thought ahead, guys, and it's not because I totally designed it this way. Crazy. It's not like I made this game or made this tutorial or anything. So now hopefully, if I go ahead and start shooting, you can see my counter is going down. And if I go ahead and kill an enemy, that number is going up. And if I take damage, it didn't really take that much damage, but as you go a bit more, you kind of notice a bit more. The reason why that initial one is because of the way the image actually is. Because it's rounded, it's actually removing like the transparent part between the end of the image and the actual curve. So, but we can see as we're adding more and more things, we will in fact die. I'll show you what that looks like, assuming we die. And then if we hit reload, or as I did die, we do it. And if I hit R, we do reload back to 16. So we now have a full function UI. Bang, 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 right in the eye, bang. Barrel physics, barrel physics, barrel physics, barrel physics. Okay. All right, that's that. So that is a pretty generic, heads-up display for your game, for this generic FPS shooter. Like, we added the image at the start. Because we added that image, we didn't really have to do anything with it. It's not like your crosshair is going to move throughout the game. The only things we did to update in code you saw wasn't very complicated, partially because we already had the variables, just keeping track of everything. Hopefully you should have that if you're going to be using that as the HUD. I don't know why you would make up information to put on your HUD if it wasn't crucial to your game, I guess. But I'm sure you could do something like that. I did want to add a map, like an overhead map, but I was like, yeah, that's way too complicated. There's a way to do it. I won't tell you how. I'll let you figure it out for yourself, and maybe I'll do it again someday, or as a workshop someday. But this is a pretty good HUD for what we need. Fantastic. That's that. But we're not done yet. Wait, there's more. Traditionally, when you start a game, you don't immediately start the game. Know what I mean? No? No, you don't? Well, usually there's, you know, a lot of logos being presented that are unskippable, and Valve's boom, whatever thing. Yeah, creepy head with a weird valve in its head. Always bothered me as a kid. Still does. Still a kid. But what I'm trying to get at here is we need a menu to kind of set up our game. This is usually when you show your game title. You transfer to the game, show credits because it's the most part of the game. You can add a quit button if you want, I guess, if you want players to quit your game, but that's just saying that your game isn't addicting. So, like, if you don't put in a quit button, they can never leave, and I think your game is a success. So that's just me. No, that's not how it works at all. Sword Art Online, perfect. It was the best game ever, I'm sure. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new scene for this. It is possible to do this in one scene, but, you know, for purpose of this demo, it's a lot simpler to do it in multiple scenes. So be sure to save this. And before we leave, be sure to go up to File and then Build Settings, and then click on Add Open Scenes. And this will add the general scene to the scenes and build. This is why the Play Game button didn't work when I tried to show this off at the beginning, because I forgot to do that. And this doesn't come along with the Unity package because reasons. I'm sure there's a way I could do it, but that involves code that I don't want to write. So that's that. But anyway, make sure it's in the scene, the build scene, so it knows actually where it needs to go once it starts playing the game. Now that we've done that, I will create a new scene with the lovely default Unity skybox. Feel free to change this, whatever. It's really your call, but I'm going to leave it as is. And we're going to again do this in a canvas. And what you can do is you can actually just create a canvas by yourself. There is this UI canvas. But if you don't have a canvas and you do try to create a UI element like text or image, it will just create a canvas. So it's really your call. So I'm just going to go ahead and create text for the title of the game. And I didn't talk about this earlier, but there is an event system. The event system is kind of what keeps track of kind of like touch events. And if you have like a controller and you're like hitting up and down, that's kind of also what it is. If you push A on like your controller or X or whatever, it will select it, stuff like that. If you actually take out the event system, your mouse clicks on buttons will not work. So it's pretty important to have there. And it's also added automatically, so you usually don't have to worry about it. But if you do delete it for some reason and you wonder why your buttons aren't working, that's probably why. So just keep that in mind as well. For the title of this game, let's give this an actual title. What should we call this game?
Best game ever.
That's what I had.
I thought it was slightly
Cooking
different.
Bonanza.
Cooking Bonanza. I like it. Bonanza. Perfect. And what color should we make this?
Pink. Purple.
Purple.
Green.
Yellow.
Let's do purple like that. And I'm going to switch back to scene view. And I'm still in 2D. But if you're not in 2D, make sure it's a bit easier. It makes it a bit easier if you're in 2D. And when you're in 2D, you can actually kind of get things to scale better, I guess. I don't know. So that's that. But I want this title to take up, you know, half the screen, just like that. Perfect. I'll go ahead and center it. And then I'll make it, it's already set to best fit. You'll notice that the max size, font size is 40. That's too small, as we can all see. So let's make this like 300. Oh man, I have never seen that before. Okay, either way it fixed itself. If you slide it, it works fine, I guess. So make it 299. What the heck? Okay, take max size and just slide it, because that seems to be the way to get things to work now. Okay, so you know it's big, it's purple, it's Cooking Bonanza. That's our catchphrase, I guess, for this game. That's that. Text, you know, it's kind of static. You don't have to worry about it too much. One thing we need to add, though, is a button. to actually go to the next scene in the game, which is actually playing the game. So in UI, there is a button component that we can just add. And this does a couple of things automatically. It adds, well, the button, all the button components, the image, and it also adds text as a child of it. And this is kind of what's showing up on the button. If you take that away, it's just an empty button, so you don't know what's actually happening. So I'd recommend keeping that there. And so for the text, I'm just going to say, play game. It's really not that intense. And I'm not going to worry about, doing it the white on black or whatever, because it's already on a white button, so we know that that's going to be static anyway. So design it wherever way you want. I'm not an artistic person, as you can see by the pink and purple. But if you are more creative-minded, let's say, feel free to mess around with different colors. The cool things about buttons is you can actually change the image of them. So for example, right now, the default image is a UI sprite image, which comes with Unity. That's pretty much just the the square, rounded rectangle square that we were using before for the health bar. But you can make whatever you want. For example, we can use the crosshair as the background of our button. It looks a little weird because it's a bit distorted. Same thing with the bullet, but if you wanted to do this, you could. Or a check mark for some reason. That's that. Best background for a button ever. So if you want to, add a bit more design to your buttons, this is the way to do it. Change the image. Buttons, the button script itself, or the button component itself, there's interactable if you want to make it so like you can't click this button until something's happened. There's a checkbox here, and you can change all this in code. There's a transition, and this is when we actually kind of, hover over it, and when we click it, it does change color from white to gray because the Unity defaults are very creative. And so that's that. And then there's other ways you can do it. Like you can play an animation. You can actually swap sprites if you want to be more, have more freedom with that. We'll leave it at color 10 for now. It's fine. And then there's this on-click thing that we'll talk about in a second once we actually add a bit more buttons. And we can call this, play a game button. We won't actually be doing things in code with the buttons themselves. It actually kind of works in reverse. The buttons actually execute code themselves that you actually have to program somewhere else. So we'll get to that in a second. But just for, organization purposes, we will name these as such. And then I'm going to add another button because, as you guessed it, we need credits. So this is going to be our credits button. And I'm going to go ahead down here, just move it a bit below it, and it snaps to the center so we know where it is. I probably should be moving the anchor points, but we've already talked about those. So no, we're not going to move the anchor points. And then the text below, we'll make this credits, and then again do best fit. And then one thing I didn't do with my demo at the start is I didn't realize just how important credits are. So I'm actually going to make this button just a bit bigger, just so we know what's really important about our game. And that'll work fine. It's a button. Buttons are cool. And this is one canvas, and I'm actually going to rename the canvas to be main menu canvas. That's a very creative name, I know. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because we actually want to make a second canvas for this scene. That way we can transfer between the credits canvas and this canvas really easily within code. For example, if we wanted to do another way, you could disable these two buttons, and then you could enable all the text on the other page as well as enable the button to go back to the main menu. But it's a lot easier just to do things in separate canvases and turn one of them on and off. You can't have multiple canvases in a scene. Right now, our screen space is still overlay, so they'll just kind of, combine together to make one weird monstrosity canvas. But if you want to have multiple canvases in a scene that are in world space or whatever, let it be known you can do that. There's really not that much lack of efficiency with having multiple canvases. And I find it does help with organization a lot, so don't be afraid of that. So instead of actually doing, UI text this time or whatever, we can do UI canvas just to make another canvas. But I'm actually going to duplicate this canvas with just, Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to call this just the credits canvas. And the reason why I'm going to do that is so we can actually keep our title where it is. And then I'm going to get rid of this credits button. And we'll just use the play game button to be our back button. So like back button. And one thing you can see is right now, like it's kind of hard to tell like where things are. So if we go to main menu canvas, we can just disable that for now. And we can see this is what our credit canvas is. And this is exactly what we have right now. So you can see I still need to say, change that to be back. And then I'll move it down. I'll move it down just a little bit so we actually have room for our actual credits. The credits themselves will just be text. And I can just resize this to be however big I want. Just like that. And Brian Krause is my name. Making games is my game. No? Okay. Yeah, and so you can do whatever you want here. And best fit again. And then this is where I'm going to put my trademark outline, just like so. And now we have credits. This is the most important part of every single game you ever make. Trust me, you should make credits before you even make the game. It works. It works. Okay. I mean, you can put my name in here when you're doing this on your own, but it's kind of your thing. So you can say like taught by Ryan Krause. Then we're cool. Then we're cool. I will not sue you if you don't mention me though. It's okay. So Cookie Bonanza made by Ryan Krause. Twitter, Ryan D. Krause. Follow me on Twitter, everyone. Boom, I'm the best. Okay. Now we've got our back button. Yeah, shameless promotion. So together, like it kind of looks like this, which is, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. And that's that. And actually, in order to get all this stuff to actually function now, because we can go ahead and play, and it's just all there. And I can click all these buttons. You can see that like it changes when I hover over it. I can hold it down, change the color. It's pretty cool. Technology is amazing, all that. But it doesn't actually do anything. So now we need to make it do something. So I'm actually going to make a new script, which I'm just going to call main menu logic. And I can't remember if I still have my old script in here, which is why I call it logics. But you can just call it whatever you want, main menu logic. And this will just be keeping track of all the transitions between the two canvases, as well as the transition to the new game. So before we kind of get into the code, we need to again do using UnityEngine.ui to actually use the UI elements like the canvas and whatnot. And then I know we're going to be changing scenes, so I'm going to bring in the UnityEngine.scene management as well, so we can transfer from the main menu scene to our game scene. The only variables we will need here will be public canvas, main menu canvas, and then another public canvas, which will be the credit canvas. And so with this we'll just be turning one on and the other one off, and vice versa when we're changing between the two. And we don't really have to change anything else here in this case. In our start method, what we can do is, I did keep it, yeah. Main menu canvas enabled. We can just set that to be true, and then we can set the credit canvas enabled to be false. So that, if for some reason we do forget to actually like turn one of them off at the start of the game, this will just take care of it for us. And if we have them both off for some reason, it'll actually bring it up so we can continue to play our game. We do not need an update method, so we can actually just delete that. And we only need 3 methods now. We'll need one method to actually play the game. We'll need a second method to change from the main menu to the credits. And then we'll need a third method to change from credits to the main menu. And if you did want to add a quit button, you could have a button for that as well. No? Okay. So first things first, I'm going to say public void. This one's just going to be called start game because I'm creative. And what this is going to do is, all it's going to do is, this is the scene manager, and we're going to load scene, and I think I called it general scene if I remember correctly, because I was lazy, and that's that. And this is all you will need to do for your button to actually, this is the code that will execute when you push the button. This will just change scenes. One thing you need to do though is make sure your methods are public in this case, or else other things will not be able to find them. So make sure you do public start game in order to make this work. Our next method is a much more complicated because it uses 2 lines of code instead of 1. And I'm just going to say go to credits is a method that we'll use here. And then this one will just be main menu canvas dot enabled is false, and then credit canvas dot enabled is true. That's fantastic. And then if you can see where this is going, our final method will be go to main menu and what we're going to do now is we're going to disable the credit canvas and enable the menu canvas. And what we can do here actually, and I just realized this, is we can actually just call start right here, and that'll work just fine. Yay code.
Or you could call the go to main menu in start.
Nah. I already wrote it like this. This is how we're going to do it. But what he did say was we could put this code down here and then just call it go to main menu and start. But you know what? I didn't think of that. So too bad. We're not going to do it. Screw your code quality. But as you can see, like, it's just these 3 methods that will be responsible for all the logic in our menu system. And then start's just there to initialize. And so this script needs to be added somewhere that we can access it. And my go-to is usually on the main camera. So if you go ahead and add that to the camera, you can see our script as well as the variables that we've yet to set. And so look at that. Oh look, there's the main menu canvas. Click on that dot. Oh man, it's the credit canvas. Yay naming. And now, if I go ahead and hit play, we can see that the credit canvas does in fact go away. One thing that we've actually yet to do though is actually hook up these methods to the buttons themselves. So I kind of hinted earlier at the onClick method down here. It says list is empty. If you go ahead and hit the plus and then change your whatever this is to be runtime only, there is, right now it says none object. If I hit the little circle, we want to select the main camera because that's what our script is on. There is the main menu logic that we added, and go find the one that says this one is start game, and that's it. So whenever we click this button, that start game method will be run, and all that start game method does is it just changes scene to be our game scene. And we'll do this for the credits as well. Change it to be main camera. This time we'll be doing go to credits, and then for our back button we will just be doing go to main menu. You also can pass in values. For example, if you have like a button that's like go to level 1 and a button that's go to level 2, you could have a method that's like go to level and it takes an int, and then inside of the button there would be a kind of a line right here where you could type in, 0 or 1 or whatever. So it is possible to take in arguments on the buttons themselves, so you don't actually have to have one button or one method per button. You could have one method for like 50 buttons. It's pretty cool. Saves a lot of code. So everything's hooked up now with our onClick, so I can go ahead and hit credits. Whoa, look at that. I made this game. Thank you very much. And then I hit back, and boom, look, we're back there, and I can, just go back and forth Nothing should break unless I'm unlucky. Nothing should ever break like this. And then I can go ahead and play game, and if I did this correctly, oh look, it works. I can go ahead and barrel physics. And I can go ahead and play the game, and our HUD is in fact updating correctly. I can go ahead, take some damage. Uh-oh, I'm gonna die. Better reload, instant time. Shoot, reload, instant time. Boom. I'm never gonna run out of bullets this time. Boom. Just mashing both mouse and R. There is no penalty to this whatsoever. This is not a very good game. It's okay. Yeah. By the way, this game never ends until you die, and then it never ends. Hence why there's no quit button. By the way, I know I didn't mention this earlier. I should have mentioned this earlier. Your cursor is actually locked to the center of the screen. So if you actually do want to quit this game, you can hit escape to free your cursor up to the play button, or you can like alt tab and do some fancy schmancy stuff. I don't know. But I probably should mention that sooner. It's in the code, but no one reads the code, so that's that. Good for you. Probably because you were confused.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. And that's pretty much the entire UI that I need to talk about that we'll do here today. It's also worth mentioning that there are other things in UI, like toggles, which is like a checkbox. There's sliders, which slide. There's scroll bars, which scroll. Drop downs, which drop down. And then input fields, which you input into a field. And there's panels, which are cool background stuff for organizing things. And they all have their uses in a game. Obviously, you probably want to put a drop down on your HUD, especially when you do freeze the mouse cursor to your center. Be kind of hard to select things, I guess. But let it be known there are other elements out there that you can use to actually build like a good menu system. For example, if you're doing something, I don't know, like an RTS, like that has a bit more interactive things within the actual menu. This is where you would want to use things like that. So this was just the basics of Unity UI. As you can see, it's really not that hard code-wise. We really only added, I want to say like 10 lines of code overall. Maybe 15, 10 to 15, somewhere around there. Wasn't counting. Everything else, like even if you don't know how to code, you could put a designer on actually designing the menu system for this and just have your programmer hook everything up to the code once they're done. And that way, even if you don't really have experience with code itself, the Unity UI system is pretty easy to learn, as hopefully you saw today. And it's a really good place just to start out, kind of get your feet wet with making UI, GUIs, HUDs, all that fun stuff. And yeah, that is UI in Unity. Fantastic. Clap, clap, clap. Any questions, I guess? Anything I didn't cover? Well, I didn't cover a lot of things, but any questions that you have immediately about things you've learned today or want to learn? Hopefully, using that, you could figure out how to put a quit game button in. It's just make another button and then make a method that quits the game. Also one line.
What about user interface that hooks to enemies, like health bars over them and stuff?
So for a user interface that hooks up to a monster, what we can actually do is you can actually put canvases on actual game objects. So for example, right now, that doesn't look right at all. Oh, I guess it is right. So here's our enemy. What you actually could do is, where's its mouth? There it is. What you could actually do is you could create a canvas on this monster, and instead of doing screen space that we've been doing, we're going to change this to world space. And I'm going to make this very, very small. And the way I usually do that is change the scale to be very, very small, like so. And then I'm going to make sure it's set to 0, 0, 0. And so you can see there's this kind of canvas kind of hovering over it right here. And that's a good enough size, I guess, for right now. And I can go ahead and add, an image like we've added so far. Just a health bar, I guess. And I don't really want to work about this so much. But if I go ahead and apply this to all monsters, and I go find that guy, right now you can see that this sprite is coming along with him. So really the important thing is make sure that you set the canvas to be a child of whatever object you need to follow, and then make sure your render mode is set to world space, not anything else. Because if we do set this to screen space overlay, well, now it's just on our camera at all times, which is definitely not what we want. So, and it reset its size, but whatever. So that's that. Good question, good question. Any other questions? Well, if there's nothing else, then I guess go forth, make games with UI, and be awesome. I changed the phrase. I'm allowed to do that. Yeah. All right.